Locked up for life, these 5 brutal gang members have no escape from the consequences of their actions. Watch as they react to their life sentences in this chilling and raw footage that will leave you questioning what leads individuals down a path of violence and crime. Number 5. Gang of 3. A jury convicted 3 men guilty of the death of the owner of a Clinton Township party store after 2 days of deliberation in court. Kenneth Hill, age 27, Jomar Robinson, age 26, both from Clinton Township, and Diaz Gaskin, age 25, from Detroit, were found guilty of first-degree armed robbery, felony firearm possession, and conspiracy to commit armed robbery.
To the killers who murdered my brother in cold blood, I say this to you. You're an absolute disgrace to the human race. I hope that while you spent the rest of your life in prison, you actually reflect on the awful decisions you've made in your life. You have the blood of a loving father, husband, son, and brother on your hands.
If found guilty, Hill, Robinson, and Diaz Gaskin face life in jail without the possibility of parole. Clinton Grayson, age 26 of Detroit, was sentenced earlier to life in prison without the possibility of release for first-degree criminal homicide and other counts. Diaz, Gaskin, Robinson, and Grayson entered the Moonlight Party store on Harper around 11 p.m. on March 28, 2014, according to the store's footage. Basim Sulaka, the owner, stood up and was shot in the back with Diaz Gaskin's 9mm handgun in less than 20 seconds. According to Vivian Sulaka, Basim Sulaka's sister, he was a calm man who didn't keep a pistol in his business or install thick plexiglass. During closing arguments, Richard Glanta, the lawyer for Diaz Gaskin, who is accused of shooting Sulaka, stated that his client assumed the pistol's safety was turned on. Unconvinced, the jury found all 3 guilty and sentenced them to life in prison without the chance of release for their crimes. Number 4. Gang members. Christopher Dean was viciously assaulted with a 2x4 and a crowbar for more than an hour. He was sexually abused with a handle-like instrument. He was subsequently executed after being shot twice in the back of the head. His body was placed in the trunk of a car and dumped at an Atlanta MARTA station. Christopher Dean was a young parent of 2 children. According to Fulton County prosecutors, Christopher Lockett invited Dean, age 43, to the Atlanta home of 23-year-old Xavier Gibson and 30-year-old Orlando Gibson on October 17, 2016.
The court got to see the comings and goings and essentially murder headquarters happening at Mr. Christopher Lockett's residence. As a result of the egregious nature of not only the injuries, on count 1, criminal street gang activity, the state's going to recommend 20 years to serve. On count 2, malice murder, state's recommendation is life to serve without the possibility of parole.
Dean assumed it would be another MARTA station drug deal with Lockett, as they had in the past. But prosecutors claimed that Lockett discovered Dean was formerly a police witness in California. Lockett and other suspected Gangster Disciples members concocted a plan to torture Dean in order to make an example of him and to demonstrate other gang members that serving as a police witness would not be allowed, according to prosecutors.
Chris was getting his life on the right track. It was so very hard for me to tell the 5-year-old his daddy would never come home.
This language, in my perspective, constitutes the most terrible attack in our county's recent history, according to Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard. A jury convicted Lockett, Gibson, Cortez, Clark, Rooks, and Green for slaying, felony, slaying, and involvement in criminal street gang activities and other connected felonies more than 2 years later. Finding that the facts of the case were awful, Judge Gail Tuzan of Fulton County Superior Court sentenced all 5 defendants to life in prison.
And to have your offspring leave the world before you do is a pretty sobering experience under any circumstances. I believe that completes what you can give it to Mr. Lockett. That completes the court sentencing in this case.
Lockett was condemned to life in prison with no chance of release. Clark received 2 consecutive life sentences plus 5 years in prison. Green received a life sentence plus 3 years in prison. Brooks and Gibson were sentenced to life sentences in prison. Number 3, Abel Gallegos. Abel Gallegos appeared in Jefferson County District Court and was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of release, plus 163 years for his role in the kidnapping and death of Simone Duran, age 28, in 2013. Gallegos and two others, Alonzo Quintana and Rene Francisco Rosales, were found guilty on numerous charges of revenge slaying. Duran had identified Quintana in an attempted murder investigation in Adams County in early 2018. Gallegos, Quintana, and Rosales got interested in her after that. According to officials, Duran was enticed, kidnapped, shot 10 times while she begged for her life, then set on fire on November 5th, 2018. Gallegos contacted Duran over social media and met with Rosales and others in a Denver home. Duran, Gallegos, and Rosales all left the house at the same time, and Rosales went home. Gallegos drove Duran to West Coifex in Kipling, where they had met Quintana. According to officials, Quintana and Gallegos violently assaulted Duran and imprisoned her in the backseat of a vehicle. Quintana and Gallegos then led her to a dark, deserted area between 7th and Nile in Golden, where they shot her 10 times. Afterwards, Gallegos and Rosales went to the scene of her death to pour gasoline on her body and set it ablaze. This is Gallegos' 6th criminal conviction, and he has had his parole or probation overturned 8 times. Judge Philip McNulty, the sentencing judge in this case, expressed shock at the casualness of the crime and the disdain for human life.
This was a horrific crime. I am struck by the casualness in which it was committed, the absolute disregard. This is the result. This is where you will end up, to serve the rest of your life in prison.
You can't live among us any longer, declared the judge. Number 2, Carpio brothers. 2 teenage brothers were jailed for their roles in a fatal knifing on the campus of Cleveland High School in Reseda in 2013. Anthony Carpio, age 18, was sentenced to 16 to life in prison. Michael Stephen Carpio, 20 years old, was sentenced to 15 to life in prison. According to Deputy District Attorney Scott Marcus of Los Angeles County, both Carpios were members of a street gang. They were each convicted guilty of 1 count of second-degree murder against the victim, 18-year-old Kevin Orellana, who was not a gang member. When Judge Martin Herskovitz announced the punishment in the Van Nuys courthouse, the Carpio brothers sat expressionless. Marcus read a victim impact statement written by Orellana's family before the sentence.
As a parent, we plan to dance at their wedding, celebrate a promotion, look forward to possible grandchildren. The last thought we would ever have is that we'll have to plan their funeral.
The 2 brothers will not be eligible for parole until 2028 at the earliest. And number 1, George Goel Thomas. George Goel Thomas, a convicted gang commander, has been sentenced to life in prison for slayings and other crimes he planned from his jail cell. The marathon trial of Thomas and 16 others ended in the Western Cape High Court. 6 other thugs were also sentenced to life in prison. All the defendants were tried under the Prevention of Organized Crime Act for offenses committed between 2006 and 2010, ranging from murder to conspiracy to commit murder and racketeering. Thomas will serve 7 consecutive life sentences for offenses committed between 2006 and 2010. Judge Chantel Fortune said Thomas and his 16 henchmen exhibited no remorse, carrying out hits on purpose and voluntarily to instill fear in the community.
My whole life shaped the person that I am today. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I'm not saying I regret it but what I know for a fact, if I could have changed some things, I wouldn't be here where I'm now.
The National Prosecuting Authority hailed the sentencing as a victory in the fight against organized crime. Meanwhile, Correctional Services has initiated an investigation into how Thomas organized various crimes while inside. Between 2008 and 2010, while awaiting trial, he made over 30,000 cell phone calls. While awaiting trial in 5 different facilities, Thomas meticulously planned the murder of multiple persons, including possible state witnesses. The court heard how Thomas used the facilities as his own headquarters and terrified corrections officers. During the trial, the convicted gang boss claimed that he merely attacked jail guards in reprisal for them injuring him. Nonetheless, Judge Fortune stated that it was this violent aspect that she considered when passing the life sentences. Thanks for watching our video on the 5 most brutal gang members reacting to life sentences. Have you found this content informative? Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on more thought-provoking content like this. See you in the next one.